Take a second to think about video, the moving image. When you see with your eyes, you see raw, unadulterated true motion, but this isn't the case with video. Video is made of rapid sequencing of individual images, called frames, that when played back at the right speed, emulate the motion we perceive with our eyes. It's generally accepted that you need a frame rate of roughly 12 frames per second to adequately emulate smooth enough motion. These are the basics of the moving image that you may already well have been aware of, but do you ever stop to consider just how frame rate can affect the way you view media? Back in the early days of cinema, hand-cranked projection led to a wide variety of film frame rates, usually ranging from about 16 to 26 frames per second. Even within the same film, as projectionists would often alter the speed of the crank turn and thus the frame rate to suit the mood of certain scenes within a certain movie. Eventually, improvements in both camera technology and film projection allowed for more consistent motion, and with the emergence of sound film in the mid-1920s, frame rates became standardized at the then industry median of 24 frames per second to maintain audio-video syncing. And ever since, the vast majority of both films and TV have continued to use this standard. Yet video games, for example, or even VR, see high frame rates not as a luxury, but as a requirement, with games being enjoyed by gamers frequently at hundreds of frames per second. So why are films and TV still 24 FPS, broadly speaking? Well, to get to the bottom of this, I spoke to a 24 frames per second traditionalist and to HFR, that's high frame rate, enthusiast.
Well, put simply, a higher sample of frames in HFR content allows for video to become smoother and eliminate imperfections like motion blur. It's inarguable that HFR is clearer and allows for the viewer to bask in greater detail.
I don't deny that high frame rate video is smoother. That's an objective fact. What I do deny is the sentiment that just because something is more realistic, it's better. That's a fallacy.
Well then, why should we still be producing films and TV in 24 frames a second?
Because not only is the 24 FPS standard what we're used to, but it's realistic enough to be satisfyingly smooth without being too realistic to the point where it ceases to look cinematic. I mean, look at this action scene from the Ang Lee film Gemini Man. It's just too smooth.
I strongly disagree with this notion that high frame rates take you out of the movie. Since higher frame rates more closely approximate the real motion of our eyesight, films actually become more immersive and less visually distracting at high frame rates.
So, do you have any closing remarks?
It's simple evolution. Filmgoers of old were used to films without dialogue and films without true colour. HFR is just the next step, and traditionalism will eventually give way to progress. And with titans like Peter Jackson behind the HFR movement, it'll take off in no time.